She's like, "You're gonna be happy?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." Then do it. So that's stuck with me.
Do you get anxious in big social settings?
Believe it or not, yes. People don't believe me because they're like, "Oh, you're at every event. You're always networking, workaholic." It's not. It's not a good thing. And I'm learning that as I'm going along. That it's good to be driven. It's good to be passionate. It's good to have drive. But you've got to know when to stop and set boundaries.
So welcome back to the Connect You podcast. Today we have Shaz Ahmed, a property finance specialist and public speaker. So Shaz, welcome to the Connect You podcast. If you want to introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure, Lewis, thanks for having me. I'm a property finance specialist. I own a small niche mortgage brokerage, basically that's in the startup stages.
Yeah.
But I've been doing this for 10, 11 years now, and I've raised through bank funding just over $500 million for investors.
$500 million?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I was working that out because I've been on a few podcasts now, and he was asked, give us some numbers, and that's where it is.
Right? I was going to ask you what your biggest deal was out of that.
I think it was 20 million, but it wasn't in one go. It was in stages of like 3 years.
Right, okay. And how quick did you do that?
That took time. That took 12 months.
Wow.
Legal solicitors, mate.
Yeah, they're fucking... We'll talk about them. Because they give me a headache. But what was your quickest deal?
Quickest deal was actually with Tej Talks, like everyone knows.
Yeah.
It was a small deal because that's all he does. But no, it was that took from him speaking to me to him getting the money. I think it was like 21 days or something.
Wow.
Yeah, we lined it all up in advance and it just went through.
But I suppose if you've got if you've got everything lined up in a row, I literally posted about this yesterday actually on my Instagram. Get everything lined up in a row. Make sure you've got everything in one place so you know.
Yeah.
And you obviously it's important for you to know as well that everything's there.
And it's a trust thing. Like some investors will try and second guess you. Is this the best deal you can get? All those sort of things. He trusts me and he's like, yeah, let's just carry on.
Yeah. But what made you want to be a broker?
I think I fell into it. Good luck. So I used to, like my first job was selling windows on the phone. I used to call old grannies up and be like, hey, we're in your area right now, even though we weren't. When can we come around your house? And you weren't allowed to hang up until they gave you a time slot.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was my first job. Then I worked for Virgin Media and their like technical support team. Then I got into finance. So I was working for Lloyd's Bank, but that was just customer service, what's my balance, all this kind of stuff. Then an opportunity came to work for Barclays where they pay for your CMAP qualification. So to be a broker, you have to have CMAP. And I was like, yeah, why not? So it wasn't something I wanted to do, but it's like, look, the opportunities with having that qualification are massive. I would say CMAP is one of the easiest qualifications to get that gives you a qualification on par with like solicitors and accountants, to be honest.
So back from an early age, you sort of fell into it. How old was you when you fell into being a broker?
Into mortgages. This would have been, I wouldn't have been young. I would have been at 23, 24.
Would you have chosen a different career if you know now?
Yeah, I mean, people say, what would you do if you weren't doing mortgages? I'd be in sales, in some sort of sales, like recruitment or something. I'm good at sales.
And obviously, looking back, I want to touch on your childhood. What is it that you wanted to be when you?
When I was young, I wanted to be a footballer like every other kid. So I'm from Wales, South Wales.
Yeah.
And Ryan Giggs is or was my idol. I said this to someone the other day, and they were like, "What? The guy cheated on his missus?"
Yeah.
I was like, "No, he's like my Welsh boyhood hero. Like my first pair of football boots were Ryan Giggs Reeboks."
I'm an Arsenal fan, so Giggs has done us.
Yeah, well, he's done everyone.
yeah, this is true.
But footballer. So like childhood, my dad had a corner shop, like a lot of South Asian kids. I had no interest in winning that. So I'm a child of three. I'm a middle child, which explains a lot. My younger brother was always more interested in helping out. I was a bit more laid back and just chilling. So, but there was a time I remember my dad had a heart attack. My brother was very young then, and I had to kind of step up. There was like a month where I had to skip school and just help out in the shop. So that was my first taste of like owning a business, running the business. I really saw what my dad was doing, like how much hard work he put in. Even though it was a corner shop, there's a lot involved. But when I was younger, I think sales and also media studies, anything in media. So my degree, I've got a degree in media studies and production. Oh. Like my dissertation was on the representation of females in 70s mafia movies. Basically an excuse to watch The Godfather like a few times. Yeah.
That's quite a concoction. I didn't expect that. But going back to obviously working with your dad, or obviously the not so great news about your dad. you was put in a situation where you've had to sort of step up to the plate. How did that make you feel when you've like shit? I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Because at the time, I would imagine I have no idea what I'm doing. A lot of people are going through a situation now where they're like hands up, no idea what I'm going to be doing from one moment to the next. And I'm referring to obviously slightly different topics, but how did you overcome that?
It was a case of, I think it was just we had to do it. You know, it was a family business. We lived upstairs, so it was literally our home, and downstairs was the shop. So if I didn't do it, my mum would help out, but I'd have to be there helping out, and so it wasn't really a choice. You know, obviously I knew I had to do it, and we got through it. And Dad was fine, back in the shop, and I was like, I don't do that again. You know, but I've had a few other jobs in between. I've had a few side hustles as they call it, but nothing that's really been like ticking my boxes as what I'm doing now.
What about your school? What was that like?
I was a very good student, I'll be honest. So I was like set one in every subject apart from science. So I remember I was in set one in science and they had like mock exams. I got a U. So they went from set one to set four and I was like, no chance. But yeah, I was like set ones and everything. So I was academic. But again, that's just mum and dad were always supportive and always like, look, your studies are very important. But then when I went to uni was terrible for me, I'll be honest. I didn't live far enough to stay over to live there. It was 2 trains, like a 45-minute journey. So it wasn't justified to live there. So didn't have that uni experience. And just another story. So I went uni with one of my best friends. And after the end of year 1, he got a girlfriend. And I remember then he just wouldn't speak to me. Like he would be like, "Oh mate, I'm just gonna go see Jane now." I'm like, okay, cool. I'd be giving him a lift to uni. He'd be like, "Yeah, mate, I'm gonna go see Jane now." I'd be like, "Yeah, but we're 20 minutes early. What am I gonna do?" Yeah, we'll see you in class. So uni became a terrible time for me because I just have no one. All kind of my buddy had left me. Even when I see him now, I'm like, "Mate, you remember you did this to me?" He's like, "Yeah." He's not even with her now. But yeah, I think I found with uni a lot of it was, especially maybe because the subject, media studies, it was, look, this is a good piece of work. We want you to replicate that. It wasn't any learning, but I suppose that's maybe what uni is.
So what would your advice be to people going to uni?
I would say only go if it's a subject that leads to a specific job, such as lawyers, accountants, solicitors, where you have to have a qualification.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, being a broker,
Yes.
in the current situation we all find ourselves in,
Yeah.
a huge recession. I'm going to get pinned to the post if we don't talk about the recession. What opportunities do you see coming from this?
I think it's so. I only work with property investors. Is the first thing. So I don't do residential mortgages, and I think clever investors will always invest. What they'll have to do is factor in higher contingencies, longer terms on their bridging loan, just to make sure that if the worst happens, they're fully covered. And what's interesting is where we were stress testing mortgages at say 5.5%, 6% last year, they're paying those actual rates now. But people are saying landlords are going to have to sell it because of these capital gain changes. Well, someone's going to have to buy the houses.
Yeah.
There will be opportunities.
So for anyone that's listening that's going to make their first investment, what would your advice be to them? Because this 5% myth that's going around at the minute, it doesn't exist. In my opinion, it just doesn't exist. You're going to end up having to put about 20% in by the end of it.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not qualified. You are. So if anyone, you're the one.
Yeah, and that's on the residential side. Yeah, on a buy to let, you're looking at 25.
It's more than that, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm a broker, so this is me turning away business. But I've been speaking to people like TJ Atkinson and others where they're looking at rent to rent. And actually, it's interesting because you get on a £100,000 property, put £25,000 in. After all your management fees cost, you're going to make £300 a month tops, right? It's not life changing.
No.
Whereas if you put £6,000 in, say towards a rent to rent, that could cash flow £750 to £1,000 a month.
Yeah.
How many 25Ks do you need to level that? So maybe starting off with something like rent to rent, but treat it like a business. Don't just do it like a side thing. Make it your main thing.
So let's talk about borrowing.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice, by the way. If you're, depending on how much funds you have available,
Yeah.
and what your appetite for risk is,
Yeah.
rent to rent is a fantastic model. However, what I would say, because that's how I started off,
Yeah.
is with rents increasing, energy's increasing, certainly I've seen the amount of profit has significantly reduced.
Yeah.
About 50% from when I first started 3 years ago. So that is a fact that you've got to factor that in, area dependent, obviously. But let's talk about borrowing.
Okay.
let's say you've got a pot of 50 grand.
Yes.
How much could you borrow on it? I know it's a tough question.
So I guess work it backwards. It'd be 75% loan to value.
Yeah,
But then you could look at bridging finance. You could buy stuff below value. So
I'm going to come on to bridging.
this is all creative stuff. Most mortgage lenders will say, look, if you're buying it for £100,000,
Yeah,
every investor says, I've got this deal that's below market value. It's 25% below market value. Never is. And lenders don't care.
Yeah.
They'll go against the purchase price. But the bridging lenders will say, look, we'll send the valuer out blind. And if he says it's worth more, we'll lend against a higher figure. So that's a good way of minimizing the deposit needs to go in. But the deal has to work. It has to stack. You have to be adding further value. And you have to be able to refinance out to pay back the loan. Because you've borrowed more than you've bought it for. So actually you're kind of overcommitted.
yeah,
But those kind of setups only work really on direct to vendor or off market deals. Because if the surveyor sees it's been on the market for less, then it's worth less.
So let's say someone's in a position they earn 25 grand a year. It's their first time. It's the first property they're going to buy, and they want to set up a limited company.
Yeah.
What is their chances right now of obtaining that property?
So the main question lenders look at is, do you own any other assets, such as your main home? So let's give 2 examples. So if you're living with your parents, or student or whatever, and your first purchase is an investment, that's a challenge. You can get lending, but it's going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
The reason is, from a lender, the risk is you may just move into that house on an interest-only mortgage. That's cheaper. But let's say you do own your own house that you're living in with family, whatever. Then yeah, fairly easy. This a lot of lenders used to have like a minimum income of 25k. No longer the case. As long as it's cash flow, as long as it's plausible. So if your money in your bank statements and your money out makes sense, you're in a positive cash flow, then yeah, you can get funding on a buy-to-let.
So for anyone listening, that you can get started. But what I would say, again, this is not financial advice, is you've got to make sure with the interest payments as they are at the minute, and I'm sure you can sort of echo what I'm about to say, is you've got to stress test the rent.
Got to stress test the rent, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Have you seen over the last 6 months? Obviously, a lot of lenders, I imagine they would have pulled out. Or pulled a product or changed them at least.
What they've done is, this is weird. So during the COVID times, lenders were pulling out. I think purely because it was so unexpected, and we realised how unsecure their funding lines actually were.
Yeah.
Because they're not banks, their funding was like other lenders, or it was private funds, and it wasn't secure, so they pulled out. This time around, they're still lending, but the rates have just jumped up, or they've chipped the loan to value by 5%. So instead of 75, they've got to 70. It's settling down now because everything is settling down since the new mini budget. But that's what's happening. What I've seen though is lenders being really cheeky, and I think opportunistic is the word. So where they're decreasing the rates, they're increasing the fees. So I've just quoted someone this afternoon. The rate's gone down, I think, to 5.5%, but the fee is 4%. That doesn't make sense, because if you add that on over the 5-year period, you're still paying it over and interest on it.
Yeah, and it's very important for people to realise that you're going to pay it. It's going to be rolled on to the end of the mortgage.
Yeah.
So it looks like a good deal, when in fact it's
not. And in essence, your balance is higher.
Yeah, yeah. So it's very important to recognise that. And where can people check that?
So I think speak to a broker, because the broker can give you. So usually I give people 2 different options. So let's say they want a 5-year fix. That's what they've got their house set on. Usually you'd have the lowest interest rate, which is going to be the lowest payment, irrespective of the fees. And then you'd also have one which is the lowest cost over the 5 years, with the fees factored in. Now, half the time those are the same, but sometimes they're not. And it's worth knowing both options, because now it's not saying one is better than the other. Some investors may prefer cash flow, therefore I don't care what the fees are, I just want to pay them at least amount per month. Some investors might say, well, actually, I just want to pay as little interest back as possible. Then you look at the lowest cost. So
to summarise, just on mortgages, what would you do? As a first time,
I would say, as a first timer, I would speak to. I think first time round, get a broker. People don't want to use a broker. I don't really care. But first time round, get a broker on board.
Why would they not use a broker? It's just stupid. Sorry,
because the mate down the pub knows better, or they want to go and not pay. They don't want to pay a fee because apparently brokers get paid a lot of money. Whatever. But
what are your fees?
So what are my fees? I charge £600 for your first mortgage, and then £450 after that. On bridging, it's £1,000, and that covers the remortgage on the back end as well.
But for that, I think people need to understand what exactly you do, because there's so much that you do.
Yeah.
Backward and forward. Yeah,
it's a lot of firefighting. So people don't realise the emails that go back and forth to get you the end result, and then also you've got my team. So I've got admin staff who work within that. You got the paperwork, the certifying of documents, which not everyone can do. You have to have a
Yeah.
qualification to certify documents. So just to be transparent, lenders will also pay brokers on the back end. So people always say, I mean, this doesn't happen anymore because I think I've got a bit of more of a reputation now. But
Yeah.
earlier on, when you say this is my fee, people would say, "Oh, don't you get paid by the lender?" And it's like, yeah, everyone does. But what the lenders pay is not a lot. It's 0.45, usually 0.5% or less than of the loan amount.
Yeah.
Take away the fees and deductions that the FCA are going to take and your overheads. It's not a lot of money, especially if you're in South Wales like me, where
Yeah.
the average loan is like 60 grand, yeah?
Yeah.
So you have to make ends meet. Now, there are brokers who don't charge fees, and that's another business model. Nothing wrong with it, but I would say they're either in London, where the deals are a lot larger, or they're working on a volume model. And then you've got to ask yourself, are they going to be paying care and attention to my case or not?
You get what you pay for, in my opinion. You do get what you pay for.
But it's funny on Facebook when people say there's loads of property forums, and if people say I want a broker who doesn't charge a fee, I'll always chip in and go www.lnc.co.uk. They're free and they're worth every penny.
Exactly that. But it's also to put out there that you're only as good as the information you receive from the individual. Because if you're told I want to get this property, it's below market value, which what is below market? Do you see what I mean? It could be worth it to you, but it's not to them. But what I'm getting at here is, if you get given wrong information, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
And I'm presuming you've had that before.
No, that's it. And the other thing is with buy-to-let mortgages, they're non-regulated. So, not saying people do it, but say you've had bad advice, there's nothing really much you can do because it's not regulated business anyway.
Right. Okay. So bridging finance.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Love it.
It's a great tool.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are scared of it. What is your advice moving into? Well, so there's different fees associated, which we'll come on to. But when is it best to use bridging finance?
So I think bridging finance is very effective if you're going to be spending a little bit of money to add a lot more value. So the numbers have to work. But if you're doing a BRR project, bridging is ideal, especially HMO conversions where the value adds are a lot more. If you're looking at using investor funds, you kind of need bridging as well. Auction purchases, because of speed, you need bridging as well.
So if you're using investor funds, you'd have, say, everything apart from, say, a refurb, or would you have the typical example, you'd have the rest of it and then you'd, say, have the
Lewis,
refurb?
I wish, man. I wish. Listen, investors will always say to me, like, and I'll put a post on this on my Instagram, I wish people came to me and said, Shaz, I've got this much money. How can I use it best? But what they say instead is, what's the most I can borrow? And it's just a way of positioning that question, because it tells me straight away what kind of investor they are. So, yeah, I think typically if people have got investors on board, the investors fund everything, the deposit and the refurb. The actual client wants to put as little money as possible in and get the rest on bridging.
Yeah, it's the return, terminology is return on time employed, return on cash employed. Because you want your money back as soon as you can. You want to leave as little in the deal as possible. Let's talk about the fees. So what are the fees associated?
Similar to a mortgage, you've got a 2% arrangement fee. Some lenders, very few, charge like an exit fee. You might get charged a 1% exit fee if it's a large development deal, or if you're a risky client, so you've got no assets, it's your first deal, they may charge you an exit fee as well, but it's not uncommon.
So talk me through the differences between serviced, rolled up, retained.
Yes. Okay, cool. So service is the easy one. With service, you just pay the interest on a direct debit each month. It's not very common though, because if you think about it, you've got an empty property, you're paying your builders, and you've got to find £700-800 a month. It's not convenient. Then you've got retained, which is the most common. This one's a bit of a mouthful. So with retained interest, let's say you get offered a 75% loan and you have a 12-month term. The lender will work out, okay, what's 12 months worth of interest on that? And let's say it's £10,000. They'll take £10,000 off the loan before you even get it, and you get less money up front. So your net loan is more usually like 67-68%, right? Then people say, well, does that mean I've paid the interest? Will I get a refund if I pay it back early? No. So what happens is, if you pay the loan back on month 12, you pay back your full 75%. Pay back in 6 months, you pay back your net loan plus 6 months worth of interest. What's interesting is, in a way, you're paying interest on the 75%, right? The difference between the 75% and the net loan, you never see it, but you pay interest on it. that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the reason, this is the most common one is it's risk management, because and the lender knows, even if you go at the full term, you're never going to be above 75%.
I presume that's because it's not actually their money.
Yeah.
So they're lending the money and then giving it to
They've
you.
got
They've got to protect themselves.
They're funded by other people,
Yeah.
investors or the banks, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're kind of charging interest on money you never see. So the FCA have been looking into this for a while.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to change. And then last, you've got rolled up interest. So rolled up, straightforward to explain. You get 70% net day one. All the interest and fees just pay at the end. This seems on paper the best one, but actually, I guess the risk is you got to make enough profit to make it worthwhile, because you're paying from your profit.
Right.
Most lenders do retain interest.
And what about commercial lending? How does that work?
So commercial for like retail and offices and shop. Yeah, so look at the strength of the lease. Look at what kind of tenants you're going to have. Usage class, make sure it's all in sync with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And commercial, I think people kind of overcomplicate it, because commercial essentially is a business.
Yeah.
It's who's going to be in there, who's servicing the loan.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, you as an investor have to have some assets yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't got to have commercial experience, but some kind of property experience is preferred.
And then with, obviously I'm going to flip back to obviously the bridging.
Yeah.
You can get that on any buy-to-let, you can get it on a HMO, you can get it on commercial.
Yeah, you can get it on service accommodation.
Yeah.
So with bridging finance, I say to people as well, like, they don't really care about you as a client. They care about the exit. How are you going to pay us back?
Well, they will loan to your grandmother.
Yeah, so how are you going to pay us back?
Yeah.
You could have a bad credit, a CTJ. If the exit was to sell, all your credit doesn't really make a difference. If it was to keep the property and refinance, then yeah, they want to make sure you can get a mortgage.
Yeah.
But on bridging, the exit is the main thing.
So how would you approach, what's the best way to approach a broker? Because it's different to approaching a broker than it is a bridging company, is it?
Yeah, again, I say with bridging lenders, if you go to any networking event, there's always a few there just trying to get business, which is fine. But no one lender is the best for every single deal. So one of your guests, you've had Alfred, right, on your podcast. He uses one lender for most of his deals, but that works for him because they're all the similar kind of deals, right?
Yeah.
HMO conversions in the Midlands, 4-bed to 6-bed. That's basically his model.
So let's talk about them.
Yeah.
Because commercial lending, I'm sure there's a lot of people that, I hope there is, listening that, how do you get the commercial lending on a 6-bed?
So ideally what you do, right, is when you do the bridge, you usually get a choice of surveyor. So you send off to a panel manager.
Yeah.
So what a panel manager is essentially, look, lenders haven't got time to call 50 different surveyors and make sure they're qualified. But the panel will have done that and they've vetted it. So there'll be a panel, you get a choice of surveyor. But before you take the bridge, make sure that surveyor is on the panel for the mortgage lender as well.
So you do that before?
Definitely.
Because then you end up with sitting on a bridge.
And then when you come to refinance, you make sure you choose that same surveyor.
Yeah.
Now, there's no guarantee they're going to come back with the same figure. They don't have to. But in real terms, if you've done all the work you said you're going to do, why would they give you a different figure?
Yeah.
But the thing is, that only works with commercial lenders like Shawbrook Bank, Hampshire Trust, Interbay, where you get given a choice of surveyors. If you go to someone cheaper like Kent Reliance, you don't get a choice. They use Connells, and it may not work.
And who are your favourite lenders?
Who are my favourite lenders? Right now, no one. They're all trash, honestly. Like, close them down. I think with bridging lenders, there's too many, generally, because obviously I ask the question, like, who's your funding from? And they're all funded from the same people. They're just different white labels over them, right? So with bridging, I would say Octane. They're good for HMO conversions. Yeah. Not right now, though, because they've only just come back to lending last week.
Yeah.
They're doing variable rates, which is a bit risky.
Yeah.
And they're not doing mortgages right now. So that model we've talked about doesn't really work with them. But they're good. I like a company called Glenhawk, based up in London. Who else do I like? Catalyst look decent, right? With mortgage lending, the thing with mortgage lending is, I don't want to make it sound easy, but essentially we use sourcing systems.
Okay.
So you give me your fact find with all your data on it and the property information. I plug that into a system and it spits out the results. I still need to make sure you still qualify for those lenders, but it's less creative than bridging because it's criteria based.
But again, you're only as good as the information of
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where delays happen. So you give me the information, we put the application in, and I say now prove it. Like, give me a bank statement, give me ID, and you're like, oh, do I have to? And that's where we'll have issues.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And in that case, that leads me nicely on to safeguarding. Is there too many safeguards in place? Do you feel that is the case?
Safeguarding what respect?
They ask too many fucking questions.
I think so, yeah. I think especially bridging lenders, it's weird.
Yeah.
Bridging lenders act as if they're going to be on the loan for like 10 years.
Yeah.
For the fact they're on like a 6 to 9 month term,
Yeah.
the amount of questions they ask, the amount of security, safeguarding is the right word, debentures, personal guarantees, charging a company. And then this, if say you've got, this has happened to Alfred as well, just to name drop him, it's like, say you've got a charge and a debenture with company A, and you want, whilst you're on that bridge, you've got another project and you want a different lender. Guaranteed they're going to start squabbling over who has first rank in debenture and who has what charge. And it's like, guys, you're going to be off this loan in a couple of months. Like, what's the issue? So, yeah, definitely with bridging, I think that the legals end up being really complicated. But that's why you pay for a specialist legal advisor. But no one's good. Don't ask me to recommend.
No. No, I won't do that one. What about mortgages?
I think with mortgages, yes and no. So yeah, like, if you think about it, they want the asset to be self-funding, right? They look at the rental, does it work? But then if that's the case, why do they ask for your income documents? Why do they ask for all this kind of stuff? So yeah, I think in that respect, the underwriting can be onerous, but it depends what lenders you use. So there's a lender called Lend Invest, and they're very techy, right? So they do open banking, you just click a link and give access to your bank statements. They don't ask for anything in terms of documents, and they let legals do it. So I think they've got a common sense approach where it's like...
Yeah, exactly what you just said there. Common sense of just silly things like signing a document.
What? Yeah, e-signing, honestly, it'd be so much
Yeah.
easier if everyone accepted e-sign. Like, it's
But
such
I
a
don't
common
why.
thing. I think it's archaic, isn't it? Like land registry, for example, is an archaic system. We're just not modernised yet. And I wish, and I don't want to go on a rant here, but I wish, like, especially
do it.
like we've had a COVID year, yeah. Now with COVID, there was no events, so a lot of lenders saved a lot of money on their promotional activities.
Yeah.
I wish they'd spent the money on improving their processes and the technology.
It's such a simple fix.
And it's like this month and next, November and December is basically event season, yeah.
Yeah.
These awards nights and events they're having, I know that each table costs about $4,000, plus a day at the office, plus this, plus that. That money could be much better utilised in improving service standards. It's really frustrating sometimes.
Well, you can get it for like £25 a month. Sign a document online.
Yes.
It speeds it out because if you're on a limited company, there could be 4 people in a chain. You've got each individual to sign it.
Yeah.
It's just a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
But you want it sent over, it's printed off, signed, scanned. It's like,
And this is before it goes to solicitors, independent legal advice, personal guarantees, and it's just a nonsense.
Well, rant about solicitors. This
Yes,
is going to be
let's
funny.
start. No. Look, I think obviously I've done posts about it on Instagram. I think
I've seen
solicitors, they don't charge enough, pardon me, for what they actually do. If I'm
I
honest.
agree with that.
So they take on too much work,
Yeah.
which then leads to them being crap. So that's the long and short of it.
Yeah, no, I would agree, but I think they have to take the work on. As a caveat, they have to take the work on. So there's a where do you find a balance?
I mean, would it work if they were charging upfront fees because they don't get paid till the deal
No.
completes, so they are incentivized to get it done. What I've seen is a shift. So before you'd have solicitors and they'd get stuff done once a week, get an update. Then it was like brokers stop chasing us, we'll get it done. Then I've seen clients look, give a solicitor the completion dates. Don't say ASAP, it doesn't work. Give them a date. But now, because they're so busy, I've found solicitors are working to offer expiry dates. So it's
Okay.
like the offer's expiring next week. Nothing happens until that week, and then suddenly they all perk up and start doing a bit of work.
Right. Okay. So you've already answered the favourite lender.
I try not to play favourites. I've said to lenders before, like, I don't want to get into bed with a lender because if one deal goes wrong, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth for everything else. So I like to spread, because not one lender is best for everything anyway. So
One thing, I've got a question about the serviced accommodation.
yes,
And I'm sure a lot of people have. What's the best way to approach property? You've got everything set up. Capital allowances.
that's more of an accountancy question.
Right, it is. I know you can't give advice on it, but
I like to stick to what I'm good at.
yeah, I'll ask you off here. But I suppose if you're set up in that way, yeah, we'll ask off here. It's not a problem.
But in terms of service accommodation mortgages, just to make it worthwhile, is there's 2 types and 2 ways lenders do it. So majority of lenders will just look at it and say, look, what's the income on an AST, and use that for the affordability assessment.
Yeah.
But some lenders will say, look, if you get us a letter from a local agent with high, low, medium figures, we'll use an average and do it that way. So that's quite location specific, isn't it?
Yeah, because if you're based in Southend, the probability of getting it is relatively
If you're in
low.
Newport, South Wales, which is where I'm from, we've got loads of SAs, but they're all contractors. because Newport's not a tourist area, so you'd have to use the AST income on that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the reason I wanted to talk about that is because of the upsides of it, and there's not. I don't think there's a lot of people
Yeah.
that can utilise it or know about that. But if we can talk about it off air, that'd be great because I've got a lot of them. But yeah, I mean, going on to your biggest deal, just walk me through that because I would imagine that took a long time.
This is why it took so long, because it was just start with legal. So the way bridging or even development, this was a development deal. That's why it's such a large deal.
So what was development finance as well?
So I guess, people say development finance or refurbishment finance. For me, anything where you're borrowing money for the work falls into that category. So bridging finance is if you're buying just for the purchase. Development or refurbishment if you're also getting money for the work as well.
Yeah.
So when you get money for the work, it's always paid in stages in arrears. So let's say the work's going to cost £100,000. You have to have money to start the work off, say 25k. Do that little bit of work, send over the invoices. They'll send an asset manager to visit, which costs you 400 quid. And then they give you the money, which takes about a week. And then you just recycle that again and again.
And how much can you borrow for the development?
So this is where, people say, oh, can I borrow based on the end value? This is kind of where it comes in. So the bridging, let's say, is 75 against the purchase. The borrowing is 100%, but the cap is no more. The total loan can't be any more than, say, 65, 70% of the end value.
So with bridging, if I give you an example, I've heard this a lot. If I've got a property that's worth 120,
Yep.
I pick it up, or if it's worth 100, I'm paying 80. Can I borrow on the done up value?
Is it worth 100 now though? Is it going to be worth 100?
No, it'll be worth 120.
Okay.
Once I'm done, can I borrow on the 120?
No.
Can you borrow on the 100?
You can borrow the work. So the money for the work you can borrow, but as long as the total loan is no more than 70% of the end value.
Right. Okay, that makes more sense.
So the purchase is against 70% against purchase price. The money for the work is 100%, but it's capped. The overall loan is capped at, say, 65, 70%.
So you can't borrow on 100 on the actual value of the property?
Of the end value, no, because that doesn't exist yet.
No, just of the value of it as it currently is.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. So that's open market value bridging. Yeah. So with open market value bridging, let's say it's worth 100,000 now. You pick it up for 80. Most lenders will say, well, we don't care, we'll go off the purchase price, the lower figure. But there are some that'll say, look, actually, we'll send the value out, and if he says it's worth 100, we'll lend on that. But that's a good way of reducing a deposit.
There's would it not be in their interest to get, well, to loan more?
I guess yes, to make more money, but no, to minimise their risk. Because like we said, they're so risk averse, surprisingly. They would want to lend you as little as possible. And I've found a lot of lenders, especially these days, are very keen on like asset and liabilities.
Yeah.
So if you're a first-time investor, you've got no assets, no savings, they're not saying they wouldn't lend to you, but they might be less likely to lend, or they want to take some other charges or some other security because you've got nothing. Your personal guarantee means nothing, in essence.
Yeah. So, and how quickly can you get a mortgage on it after?
As soon as. So I've had people ask me, can I do it within 6 months?
Yeah.
That's like an old thing. I think that's because of the crash. As long as you keep all your invoices, bank statements showing you've paid the money, then there's plenty of lenders who let you refinance within 6 months at the new value.
So that's the most profitable way of doing it, is obviously buying a property, refurbing it, and then and obviously if you can use investor finance, probably I would say that's the best way of doing it.
Well, it's a conversation I've had with people before. So I guess investor finance, the rates are probably the same or similar as bridging, if I'm honest. 12% per annum, 1% a month. It's about there or thereabouts. It's the fees with bridging that add up, right? Yeah. But some investors get cold feet because they're not in the business of lending money, right? So I've had instances where people have said in the week of the deal that I can't lend you this money. Can you? So that happens. That's the only thing. At least with bridging lenders, they're there to lend money.
It's a great tool. It's a great tool that you can stretch. If you've got a pot of 50 grand, 100 grand, you can stretch that.
Yeah.
However, don't stretch it too much.
Yes. Have contingencies built in.
Yeah.
Make sure you've got a good project manager. Make sure you've got a solid schedule of works, because that is important. So when you've got like projects, you've got to give the schedule of works to the lender. They'll give it to the surveyor, and the surveyor confirms based on that if the end value is realistic. So that's got to be spot on, built in with contingency.
So when you're getting the drawdown, well, I'll let you explain that. So when you're getting the money for the refurb, how are people taking it?
So there's two ways you can do it because of the ongoing cost. So if they're going to charge you £400, £500 to come out and just tick a box, you have a choice. Either you want to put little money in, so you want to do a small chunk of refurb,
Yeah.
but then you're going to pay each time someone comes out, or you can say, well, actually, I've got the money, I got 50 grand. I'll do a lot of work first and then just do it that way. Most people do the former and do little bits of work and get that money back.
Right, okay. So you can take it in sort of like tranches. If you've got a 30 grand refurb, it'd be like 10 grand, 10 grand, 10 grand.
Yeah, I mean, I think at that level, personally, I'm always then trying to say to people, try and just get it and through an investor. 50 grand plus, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
If the refurb's 30 grand or less, small, it's not worth getting the money because it's just the fees,
Yeah.
And it's the same like with bridging. Like the smallest deal I've done is it was £37,500, right, on a bridge. But I was trying my best not to do it because I was like, the valuation, the legals, my fees, that's the best part of 3 grand. It's costing you 3 grand to borrow 3 for 37. It's just not worth it.
Well, it can't. If it's worth that much, I don't know whether it is, but in my head, it's not going to be worth a great deal more. What can you do to a property that much? I don't know what they've done.
And also then, this is definitely not financial advice. It is
No.
you can get a personal loan for 20 grand with no security, get in days, with very little questions asked.
Yeah.
You can do all those things. I'm not saying you should, but that's just something.
Yeah, there's definitely ways that you can get creative.
At the smaller levels.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can do it. We always end a podcast with sort of like quick fire questions, and I've prepared some for you.
Oh, great.
So I want to thank you for all that information. There's a lot of information there packed, jammed in. I could talk to you for hours on it because I find it fascinating. And obviously we could talk about solicitors. We won't go into them because that's an episode on its own, and we can come back. We can talk about obviously the recession opportunities we've got. But I think if people can take one thing from you, it's to get in contact with you about
not necessarily me, just get in contact with someone who is qualified and someone who's specialist. And the questions to ask are right. If you're using a broker, because people ask the wrong questions, it boggles my mind. The common question people ask is, are you directly authorised? Are you whole of market? Do you have access to a lot of lenders? It means jack shit. What you should ask is, I'm looking at a bridging finance deal. Have you done that before? Have you done bridging before? What was the last bridge that you did? That kind of question.
For me, the most important thing is they've done it already. They've done it.
Do they live your world kind of thing? So I'm doing service accommodation. Is this the kind of thing you deal with? So it doesn't matter what lenders they've got access to. If they've done that, they've done that.
Or they're working with people that do it.
Yeah,
that's also important to me.
Double check the fees. Ask the fees up front because you don't want to be surprised afterwards. Ask your broker. Do I deal with you all the way through, or do you have an admin staff? There's no wrong answer, but at least you know and you're prepared. Because I used to have the problem right where I'd be on the front end doing the sales bit, the broking, the recommendation, and then say, now I'm going to hand you over to someone else who's going to do the admin. And admin people aren't as personable sometimes, I guess, as we are. And it led to a bit of this was 3 months basically where I had someone new in, and it just wasn't working because clients were like, Shaz, this is just not, we're not feeling the vibe anymore. So I had to get rid of that person, unfortunately, and we've got someone a lot better now. But you need to know that, because if the front end is this, take your money and suddenly it's like this, it's just not a good business model.
No, it's tough, but then I can really sympathise with you there, running my own business, and people saying what's going on. And obviously when you grow and you get more clients, and the clients you're working with give you a piece of advice, it's like, something needs to change.
You got to take it. I mean, the first year and a half I did it all myself, did all the admin and the brokering all by myself. Then after that it was a case of either I increase my fees and just keep doing it myself, or I take someone on and grow the business, and that's the choice I made.
Yeah, I've done the same, and you have to mould them into your train set,
exactly,
if you like.
Yeah, and I think again, especially with admin staff, you've got to give them the freedom to be themselves.
Yeah,
say, look, just put your personality in it. Get to know the client, be their best friend, and that's what they want.
No, I completely agree. So, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I've ever received. I've not received it personally, but it's something I've heard on a podcast, is that you have the potential to be as big as you want to be.
What's the best piece you've received?
What I've received? I don't really get... People don't give me advice like that, man. I wish I had a mentor to guide me through.
What about your dad?
My dad... You know what? My dad's awesome. I love my dad. But he's not an advice kind of dad. He's quite laid back. He's quite chill.
What,
My mum, on the other hand, though, to be fair, my
yeah,
mum, right?
mum?
She's just always been like, look, do what makes you happy. If it's going to make you happy,
That's a pretty
then we're
good piece
happy.
of advice.
Yeah.
Like, that's powerful. Yeah, that to me, anyone listening, if what you're doing makes you happy,
So
that's a pretty cool piece of advice.
this is the example I'm going to use. It's like when I was doing my university choices, the choice for a South Asian kid would be, law, accountancy, and I had no interest in that. I was like, Mum, I want to media studies. She didn't know what it was, but she's like, you're going to be happy. I was like, yeah, of course. Then do it. So that's stuck with me.
I'm gonna come back to the questions, but being a South Asian kid
Mm-hmm.
at school, what was it like growing up?
So Newport's very multicultural. But what's interesting about Newport now, especially looking back as I'm a lot older now, is it's multicultural but not very mixed. So people don't actually, it's not diverse in that way. There's loads of cultures there, but they're not speaking to each other. But school is fine. I think, we had mixed friends and all that kind of stuff. But I think what I've realized, and this is stuff you have in hindsight, is like things like 9/11 when that happened, it was still fine. However, you kind of then tolerate certain jokes being made just because it's like, oh, cool, whatever. You kind of just normalize certain behaviors, which you shouldn't. So it wasn't traumatic or anything, but it was a case of, I guess, we ended up just having to allow certain bits of jokes or being that person because of this situation. And yeah.
It's a shame, but you're absolutely right. There is that happens now.
Yeah.
But how did you overcome that?
I don't let it get to me. The first time I experienced racism, I was a lot younger actually. I think I would have been pre-high school, so maybe 9 or 10. And I went to my cousin's house it's in the valleys in Wales, so which is more proper Welsh, really not diverse at all. And they had a corner shop, and I went to the local video shop down the road, right? I rented the video, and I was like, I'm from the shop, and I'll give it back. I saw what they wrote, and I went back to my cousin. I was like, "Oh, listen, they wrote, the P word on the slip to say this is us." And she went livid. She went right back there, give him the full situation. She's like, "Listen, Shaz, don't ever let someone do that for you." I was like, "Okay, cool." But for me, it's like if people are making all those stupid comments, I think attacking someone for something they can't control is the worst. It's just small-minded stuff. So if someone's short or if someone's of a certain race or color, that's not something they can control. If someone's arrogant, that's a choice they're making. By all means, have a go with them. But if someone is out of their control, you shouldn't really.
So your mindset's been pretty solid throughout.
Yeah. Listen, sometimes I think I'm pretty privileged. Like, as in, I've had no major deaths. My family, touch wood. I've not had any major financial struggles. But to me, I was speaking to someone about this, and he was like, Shaz, about this mindset thing. And I'm like, it's just part of life. Like, I've been made redundant twice. I've been sacked from a job, and I've had, I think 6 months without a job, but when I had commitments. But for me, it's just like, these are just part of life, and as long as you learn lessons from it.
Yeah, yes, it is part of life. It's how you deal with it.
Yeah, and to me, I don't dwell on it. And I think, again, this is the benefit of being a South Asian person, and I think maybe I'm generalizing, is that worst comes to worst, I can just live back with my parents, and they're never going to say no to me. As in, we've got that support to take the extra risk. So,
and it always comes back to that community, doesn't it? And as every guest that sits in the seat, it comes back to we're driven.
Yeah.
And even when I sit here now, people know my story, but we're always driven. We're always looking to be successful in whatever field that may be, whether it be health, wealth, whatever it is. Yes, you've made redundant. Is it the end of the world? No, because we know where we're going and where we want to get.
When I got made redundant, I actually set up a business then. I set up a gourmet burger restaurant. So I took that time to do the research and set one up. Yeah, and that, and
I did not expect that.
Yeah. So for like, I think 4 years, I say we as me, my brother-in-law, and his business partner. Okay. I was the working partner because I didn't have a job.
Yeah.
And it was like my little baby. I did the menu, did the designs, did everything about it, did the interiors. It was my thing. Yeah. But eventually, it got to a point where I was too busy doing the mortgages. I'd be in the restaurant doing finance, and it was like, didn't make sense. Someone had to give, and that was it. But we won awards. It was an award-winning burger restaurant. But this is it. When Barclays announced redundancy, people who'd been there years were like, "Oh my god, what are we going to do?" I'm like, guys, relax. Like, first of all, qualify. This is like, you've still got CMAP. there's plenty of jobs. We'll find some. This might be the best thing that happens. Actually, it is. So I speak to people now, and most people are now self-employed in their own businesses, doing bigger deals and making more money than they ever were at Barclays. So
I think that's what you've done there is I can definitely relate to, and I'm sure certain people will. Something has to happen to them for them to go,
yeah,
I'm going to take a step back, take a breath, and go, now I'm going to go and do this.
Yeah.
Even if it fails, it doesn't matter because I can go and do something else.
yeah.
From my point of view, anyway. Why do you do what you do?
I asked that on my podcast as well. That's
Did
the first
you?
question. Yeah, why did you? I think I definitely like to serve. I think one of the reasons we're here is to serve. So for me, serving, what I do is, I provide a service. I'm here to help investors get the finance. They can't do it themselves. I'm part of the team or the function within that business, their business, to get them what they need. And I take pride and I get a lot of happiness when I see my investors, my clients building these massive businesses. I don't need credit for it, but I know that I've been a part of that journey for them. And they're doing big things.
Does it come back to, for me, I look at it as you are brokering the deal, but you've created really the asset for that individual and its stability in a way.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I think I wouldn't take any credit for the businesses they're running. People like Tej, Alfred, and all these guys, they would have done it themselves anyway. With another broker perhaps because of the way they are.
Yeah.
But by linking up with someone like myself, they've perhaps got it in a less riskier way or quicker way. It's the same with a lot of entrepreneurs. They say, would you have got on this journey without your mentor? Probably, but it would have been slower. So it's just that kind of thing. And then I guess the reason for setting up the brokerage, because we've been going since August, quite new, is I want to grow a team. I want to grow a team who are like me, who are creative and problem solvers. And that's one of the things in the office is I say, look, if you've got an issue that's happened, come to me with a possible solution first or what you've tried first. Don't just come to me first time with a problem. I want to know what you've tried.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. What's something people value that you no longer value?
I've never been big on material things. I appreciate money is important. It's just the way we live. But things like, a nice fancy car, watches, clothes, holidays. I've never been big on travel. So
Dubai not on the cards.
I'm not that Dubai thing. So look, I keep going back to being Asian, and it's me, and it's 90% of my holidays as a kid were going back to Pakistan. I'm born and bred in Wales, but obviously mum and dad were from there. So I'd say most of my holidays family holidays were back to Pakistan. So I've not had the travel thing, and it's never been a big part of my life. So when I tell people that, they're like, "Oh, what do you mean?" Well, yeah, it's just not a thing. I'm not interested in traveling. And lie-in is a holiday for me because I'm always working otherwise.
So I suppose it comes back to being like your dad.
Yeah.
Working like your dad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think the learning from dad is working hard but on the right things. So he worked hard in the shop, and we know ultimately actually it wasn't that rewarding because now he's not doing. He's doing something. He's just chilling. But for me, if I put this much effort and this much creativity earlier on in my life in the right things, I could have accelerated my growth possibly.
Looking at what happened to your dad, who had the heart attack.
Yeah.
What do you believe is a life well lived?
A life well lived is a life simply with no regrets.
What's your biggest regret?
My biggest regret is, I think, I'm a workaholic, and I think sometimes I prioritize that over personal relationships, and I think that sometimes definitely. So I think prioritizing is an issue.
Yeah, no, I'm the same with that. It's very hard to get this what people call the work-life balance.
Yeah, I think you have no balance when it's your business.
No, especially when you're trying to grow it.
Yeah,
and if you've got a supportive partner, it certainly helps. And obviously, I did have. And you've got to, if you're growing a business, you've got to understand that takes priority, but also recognise that obviously for me, when I was growing mine, I was so tunnel vision.
Yeah.
That nothing else mattered.
Yeah.
My health at the time, didn't even matter. But obviously now it's got to a stage where it runs itself. Obviously I've got the debt recovery, I've got the sort of property business. But so for the first 3 years, it was like I didn't see anyone.
Yeah.
And
I don't see my friends, and I feel bad sometimes. So when I say my friends, as in people I've grown up with, I've got a WhatsApp group, and at least 3 times a week, it's like, let's watch the football, let's go shisha, let's go for food. And I'm just like, I don't reply anymore, and I feel really bad. But it's like there's nothing interesting going on over the
no,
football.
no,
I don't really do shisha, and I don't care, and I'd rather see people who are doing big things because I
yeah,
get motivated. In a big group, I'm quite quiet. I'll just listen
yeah,
and take
yeah.
things in. I don't want to be in the limelight, as it were. So yeah, I'm grateful my friends still bother with me, but it's like, let's talk about things that are actually going to make a difference in our lives.
Do you get anxious in big social settings?
Believe it or not, yes, people don't believe me because they're like, oh, you're at every event, you're always networking. For me, that's part of business. It's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
I wouldn't say it's an act, but it's just something I believe I have to do. But yeah, in networking events, if I don't know anyone at an event, I will just go back into my shell,
Yeah,
pretend I'm on my phone, go to the toilet, that
yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
I'm the same. I really, and I think it's very important for people to recognise that just because we're sat on this podcast now and we have a business, it may have so many followers, or you may have so many followers. We may be on Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah.
link, whatever it might be, whatever platform. We still get them feelings.
Oh yeah. But the way I've combated that with networking, just a key tip is pre-networking. So especially now on social media,
Yeah.
you can find out who's going to be going to an event just by
Yeah.
going on the page, inbox those people. Hey, I'm going to the same event.
Yeah,
Let's catch up, or even just have a chat, because then you've broken the ice online. When you get there, you're less anxious, and at least a few people you can just speak to.
absolutely. That's a great tip. I've done that as well. And I've messaged a few people today, see if they're going, but again, my boy's got tonsils, so depends on the one week.
Yeah.
Potentially be going to Baker Street with Ranjan. Big up Ranjan. But yeah, so I mean, I've got a few more questions. I like these questions. I think they're brilliant. So, what is the happiest moment of your life so far?
My life so far is when I bought my own residential house. Only because
That's
it's a big
interesting.
thing moving out moving away from parents and doing it without them being annoyed or upset. And this happens a lot again in South Asian culture, where it's like your parents want you to live with them till you're 35, or
Yeah.
40. They don't want you to move out. Whereas I know with my kind of Caucasian friends, British friends,
Yeah,
once you're 17, 18, your parents are like, gonna move out or pay us rent.
yeah,
We're the complete opposite. They want you to stay with them as long as you possibly can, right? Even if the house is overcrowded, they don't care. So yeah, getting that resi in a good way, in a way that everyone was, that's definitely the right thing. That was a happy moment for me.
brilliant, mate. Well done. So, this is a bit of a mouthful. What is one inadequacy you admit to having that you could work on starting tomorrow?
Inadequacy. I think. I mean, workaholic. It's not a good thing, and I'm learning that as I'm going along. That it's good to be driven. It's good to be passionate. It's good to have drive, but you've got to know when to stop and set boundaries. So, for example, I'll be at this event later on, right? I'll have my phone on me, and if someone WhatsApps me a mortgage question, I'll answer it. I shouldn't, because that just sets bad boundaries in relationships from day one.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And a final question I'll ask every guest.
Yeah,
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good.
Good, man. Shaz, you've been excellent. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast. You've answered pretty much every question I've got. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, where can they find you?
My real account is at Where's Shaz, double S in the middle, no question mark. There are a few clone accounts, so watch out for them. So it's at Where's Shaz.
That's how you know you're doing well. If you've got a clone account.
Where's my blue tick?
Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Lewis.